Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another Chatting with Wisdom interview series. And so I'm really excited to be here with Anjali, and I love the way that her name comes out. It's like such a beautiful name. And so she's with us today, and we're going to be talking about harnessing the power of collective transformation, which is incredible. So one of the things that most of you that do follow me, that are with me, have been with me for some time, know that I'm all about groups and all about that whole collective, bringing everybody together because it is so powerful in terms of how we actually get to bring things together. So Anjali works at the intersection of women's rights, gender-based violence, and law across multiple countries, including India, the UK, and Colombia. A TEDx speaker and a Fulbright Scholar, she has represented foreign governments in human rights cases and fought for the rights of marginalized communities. As a dancer, Anjali uses her art to explore social justice themes and has developed innovative workshops for lawyers that bridge movement and law. So how do you bring all of this together? So like, I love how you have this connection with all the women's rights and all that kind of stuff. And so, but how do you bring that together with tapping into the power of the collective?
To me, it is all about storytelling. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. This is very exciting. It's a real honor to be here. And I'm so happy to hear that a lot of your work is also focused on the collective and the team and the group. It's so important and an amazing way to amplify impact.
It
And
really
so
is.
all of these things kind of can be tied together under, I think, storytelling. The law, the legal side of it, the dance side of it, and the team side of it. We all have stories to share. And when we're vulnerable with each other and when we're vulnerable with ourselves, those stories can be really powerful agents of change.
They really are. And so tell me a little bit more about like, how do you bring things together? So like how, because like obviously your work, you do something different, but then you bring this collective part of it. So how do you do these, like, how do you balance these two things?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've now fully integrated this idea of the collective in my work. And so I think a lot of times we view law and the legal world and being a lawyer as a very individualistic space. The reality is that when you are representing and you're directly representing survivors, when you're directly representing women who have had their rights violated, whether on a domestic level, whether on an international level by a government, all of these women have a collective story. They have individual stories and they have a collective story. And the real question is, how can you bring that collective story together to then have a larger impact when it comes to kind of international law and changing international mechanisms? So, for example, one of the first projects that I worked on as a lawyer that really honed in on the fact that I wanted to be a lawyer was I worked at the Ministry of Justice in Chile. And we were working with survivors of the Pinochet regime who had experienced sexual assault as a form of torture while they were imprisoned. And individually, their stories were incredibly powerful. Together, when we brought those women together and we told stories together, we were able to come up with an entirely new law that defined torture as including sexual assault. And so that is kind of this power of the collective. Individually, there are incredible stories. Together, we changed the law. And
Wow.
you know, that's really how that all ties together.
Wow, that is so powerful. And like, and again, it goes back to that whole bringing everybody together and bringing things forward. And so, but being able to have be powerful enough to be able to change an entire law in a country, that has got to be, so the women who were part of that, as much as the experience that they had was not a wonderful experience, and there's like no way to even um, to be able to bring anything towards like in that respect, but to be able to say like with that experience came like this whole thing, like that must have really helped them feel more empowered and feel like they were able to make a difference based on the tragedies that they had to experience.
Yes, absolutely. And bringing those women together, having conversations with them, I think more than even the end product is this idea of even sharing your story. This idea of being able to feel safe and comfortable to be vulnerable with each other. A lot of times survivors are silenced. And it's really, you know, I think what the Me Too movement showed as well is that it's when more than one woman speaks up, it's when a collective group of women speaks up, that people feel empowered to share their stories. And so in one way, that was the beginning of what was so meaningful about this project, is the sharing story part of it. And yes, the law was changed by the end of it, and that's an incredible impact. And it started with this idea of, actually, I'm empowered to share my story.
And empowerment is such a it's a cliche word that is used a lot lately, but it's and I guess cliche is probably not the right word, but it's that whole piece of bringing everything together and having this this part of like really being able to find that strength within, to be able to really tap into like where do we go from here, and how do we take that that next step, and how do we take that next level. And so, and I really love how what it is that you're building, and how it is that you're bringing these things together really defines that word empowerment. And so like really helps bring in how strong of an opportunity for us to be able to like bring in the things that we've lost, right? So like when we've been victimized of whatever it is, that the experience that we've had, when and we lose our power, like we lose that sense of who we are, we lose that sense, and like you said, they become silent and don't share. And so but being able to find that voice again and bringing that whole, oh, it's just, I'm literally got goosebumps like from the top of my neck all the way down to my fingertips, because like it is just so powerful. Because like I said, we hear a lot of like empowerment workshops and empowerment this and empowerment that, but this is really truly where we actually get to see that fire within that gets to get built back up again, where they actually get to either become as powerful as they were, or stronger than they were, which is like unbelievable. And I can't even, like, it's just incredible how you like how this is working for you. So can you tell me a little bit more about like how else do you work with this? Like how else do you bring that collective into being able to see some transformation?
Absolutely. And actually, I will pause really quickly and say thank you for that discussion about the word empowerment. It's actually something that I have battled a lot myself, and actually have come to this new term of stepping into power. Power is inherent in every person, right? And so this idea of, instead of being empowered by an external force, how are we learning to step into our own power? It's a power that already exists, and you said it perfectly. So I just wanted to thank you for bringing that up. I think it's just such an important conversation that we can keep having.
Beautiful.
Speaking of stepping into our power, what I'm doing now is actually, I spent some time in the corporate law world and realized that there's so much more impact that I felt that I could have, especially following this idea of harnessing the power of the collective. There's so many people doing incredible work to combat gender-based violence, and I wanted to play a role in bringing those people together. So again, this idea of harnessing the power of the collective. A lot of women are doing incredible work. A lot of organizations are doing incredible work to combat gender-based violence, and yet they're not talking to each other. And I'm not sure why that is. I received an email from one of our partner organizations today, and it was this, they didn't want to be part of a panel that was talking about some specific form of gender-based violence because they didn't think that it would fit with their work. And so there's a lot of kind of categorization in this world where people don't think that what they're doing aligns with what other people are doing, even though it's all in this space of addressing gender-based violence. People are just not talking to each other. And I realized that I was in this unique position, having met a variety of clients, having connected with a variety of partner organizations and organizations that are doing incredible work, that there's a way to bridge these people together, these organizations that aren't talking to each other right now, these individuals who really want to have an impact and who have incredible skills to be able to have an impact, but don't know where to harness that energy, where to focus that energy. And so we realized that there's a real opportunity to combine those two things and create a coalition of change makers, individuals and organizations who are dedicated to combating gender-based violence. And when I say we, this is something that I discovered with my co-founder, who's actually a mountaineer as well. I'm a mountaineer as well, and we met on a mountain. And so it was this incredible kind of serendipity meeting under a dancing rainbow, we say. And she's a sexual trauma specialist, and I'm a human rights lawyer. And we realized that together, again, this idea of the collective, together we could amplify our impact. And we could bring, oh gosh, and we could bring together.
Off my desk. I don't know what it was.
You're okay though, right?
I'm fine. Yeah,
okay,
I don't know what go behind my desk.
Good. And we could come together, and we could bring all of these organizations and individuals together. And that's how our organization, What is the Power of We, was formed. And our whole mission is to bring together a coalition of change makers to combat gender-based violence. Let's talk to each other. Let's amplify our impact. Let's work with each other. And that's really what we are all about. So living and breathing this power of the collective mission.
That is incredible. So like, how do people get involved? So like, whether it's organizations or people. So like, how do you guys kind of bring this together? Or has this even been formed at this point?
Yeah, so we have a website, whatisthepowerofwe.com, and people who are interested in joining us can kind of sign up to our mailing list, and that's where we're currently sending opportunities to connect. So I have 30 minutes, and I'm a pro bono lawyer. We have a partner organization that has a need for a pro bono lawyer for 30 minutes. How do we connect those two things together? And so currently we're doing that via our mailing list, but our dream and my next mission and the goal is to create an online system to be able to just do that easily. You can check off what skills you have, and then you can match with how much time you have, what skills you have, what you're interested in doing, and then you could match directly with partner organizations that are looking for that type of technical support.
So now, is this just within the US or is this global?
This is global. So the fun thing, yes, the fun thing about us being mountaineers is we've linked this to an awareness campaign related to us climbing mountains. So instead of the traditional fundraising gala, we think we're all tired of the let's do this end of year giving, $100 for fundraising gala. Let's all go party while we're talking about something really, really kind of horrible. And how do we the juxtaposition between those two things is crazy. And the calendar fills up with more holiday and fundraising galas than you could possibly think of.
Absolutely.
And so we are replacing the traditional fundraising gala with an awareness campaign tied to climbing mountains. So we are climbing the highest mountain on every continent, and we're using each mountain as an awareness campaign around an organization based in that continent. So we are partnering with organizations globally that are grassroots organizations and global organizations who are already kind of connected to local needs, connected to communities on the ground, doing the work, bringing those organizations together and bringing more awareness to what they're doing. Because the sad reality is that 1.9% of philanthropic giving, 1.9% of people's money when it goes to charities goes to women and girls organizations. And less than that goes to organizations that are combating gender-based violence. And so there's a huge need to coalition build among organizations and individuals, and a huge need to bring awareness to what organizations are doing on a global level.
That is incredible. And so do you guys literally climb the mountains?
Literally climb the mountains. Yes.
That is so cool. And so you actually have different people, so if you go into whatever country, then you would actually find out what's the highest mountain, and then you guys actually fundraise specifically to climb that particular mountain.
We fundraise for that organization. So to climb that mountain, that's totally separate. So no money that goes to our organization goes towards the climbs. We have kind of corporate sponsors that are dedicated to that. It's important to us that 100% of the money raised goes to our partner organizations that are working on the ground to combat gender-based violence.
That is incredible. Like, and so where have you been hiding? Like, this is like, this is incredible. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
We
So,
just launched. We're so new, and so
okay.
we I met my co-founder in January on the highest mountain outside of the Himalayas,
Yep.
Aconcagua. That's why I brought my other teammate, my summit suit from that mountain that helped me get up to the top of the mountain. But I met my co-founder just this year in January, and by May I left my corporate job, and by July we launched our nonprofit to really push things forward. And so we are in the beginning stages of this journey, but we really think that there can be a huge amount of impact connected to what we're doing.
Absolutely. And so when I get back from my retreat, because I'm doing an empowerment and leadership retreat with a group of women. And so but when I get back, I will actually, in our region, because we've got a very large region, I will send you contact information for anybody that's within our districts, and so that you can at least reach out to them and see if there's anything within our region that somebody may be willing to jump on board and be part of this. So like, this is absolutely incredible. So my background is addiction, mental health, and I've worked in domestic violence. And so like, this has been, yeah. So like, I wasn't even expecting this to be part of the conversation. Like when because I don't read the entire thing until I'm coming on, because I really keep the conversations very genuine in terms of like that authenticity. So like, I read the intro when we're coming on, and then it was like, oh my gosh, like, this is really truly incredible. Like, I did not realize to the extent of what it is that you guys are doing. And I love how you've actually shifted from that word empowerment to being able to be in power and stepping into your power. And so even the organizations are able to kind of step into their power of what it is that they're able to do. Because like you said, a lot of times, at least in our region, a lot of times, like, there's organizations that kind of all work in silo of like all the things that they need to do. And so like, everybody does try to collaborate, but within Canada, I can say, like, within Ontario for sure, is that everybody gets funding for certain things and certain projects, and you're only allowed to use the dollars for this kind of thing or that kind of thing. And so being able to have a way of being able to kind of bridge everything together is so incredible. And the fact that you guys are doing this globally, and you've got that experience from a legal perspective, that you're able to like know how to be able to bring things in from this perspective, and how to be able to have that happen. So like, this is like, I have no words as to like how like my mind is racing like a mile an hour, and I'm not even working frontline anymore, and haven't been working frontline for a number of years. But it's just like, wow, like, how can these organizations try to tap into of how to be able to like just really bring things forward? Like, I know that within our region, the North Bay is listed as one of the capitals, or like one of the bigger parts of the human trafficking. And so like, all that kind of brings things together. And so like, I know that all the work that they've been doing down at that end, because it does filter back to our smaller communities and our northern communities and that kind of thing. And so but like, again, my mind is racing to like, oh, who else can I actually reach out to? Oh, who else can I like share information with? Because like, this is really truly incredible, because like, it is really a global impact. It really does have and you've seen it firsthand, right? So you've seen it in the courts, you've seen it in the things that you've been doing. And so like, I've had like a very small little piece of being able to support people, whereas you've had that bigger impact of how to be able to get more people in that part. And like, being able to bring, like you said, bringing that full collective in is so incredible. So yeah.
Thank you for your work. Thank you for your work, and thank you for your words. That means a lot to me. And honestly, part of the biggest blessing of starting this organization has been to have conversations with people, and the way that your mind starts your mind started buzzing to see that in other people. And again, like when we talk about the power of the collective, it's all about amplification of impact. If you are having these amazing ideas and I'm having these kind of brain waves together, you know, alone, that's amazing. But together, how much more impactful can we be? How much more creative can we be in coming up with solutions and really targeting this issue? So that's honestly very exciting to me that you're having this reaction as well.
Well, like I said, I've got like my region, my district. Like we have 3 districts within our collective region, and so but yeah, so like I said, I've got like a number of different organizations that I'm definitely going to send off to you next week. I'll put it in my calendar to make sure to send off some organization names, and so that you can actually reach out and share what it is that you're doing, because I think that is very impactful. And then again, like it'll be kind of building out from one person to the next, and building out within their networks, and being able to have that power of being able to how else can we bring things to light and share within that. So what other things can anybody who's listening, or anybody who is watching the replay can actually share um, with other organizations or themselves, what other kinds of things are to know?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the big things that we feel pretty passionately about is sharing, you know, as I said, awareness, but information about not only domestic violence, but gender-based violence more broadly. And so what we would love is to connect with people who are in the space. So, you know, reaching out to us via email or even Instagram. And also what we've been doing from a sharing perspective has been kind of bi-weekly kind of did you know facts about gender-based violence, because I think there's a lot of non-information about gender-based violence in general, and a lot of non-information about how prevalent the issue is. You know, in the United States, I mean, I agree with people who have classified it as a public health emergency. There are statistics that suggest that 24 people per minute experience some form of intimate partner violence or harassment, and that is shocking. It's just something that people are not talking enough about. And so I think, you know, not only engaging with us as an organization, but also having these conversations around the dinner table with people who you maybe wouldn't have these conversations with, I think is so important. And more people have something to say than we realize. I was climbing in the Alps over the summer, and part of what you do is you stay in these huts, and beautiful huts, and you kind of share dinner with other climbers and things like that. And so, you know, the question always comes up, what do you do? And so I started talking about the work that we're doing, and all of a sudden, just story after story after story from people who I wasn't climbing with, people who were strangers to me at the beginning of the night, about violence against women in their countries, gender-based violence, a story that they had personally. And there's so much more that people want to share, or conversations that are not necessarily being had, to bring awareness to how big of a problem this is. And it's really just a matter of having a conversation. You know, even me having a conversation with my dad about how big this problem is, and now he's fully on board, recognizing how big of a problem it is. Having those conversations with each other, and even, you know, and starting in places that might feel uncomfortable, you know, Thanksgiving table maybe, but but you know, bringing those I think dinner conversations are such a powerful tool that we don't necessarily use enough. We've been kind of trained off of using dinner table as a place for serious conversation, but really has been kind of one of the biggest blessings for me to really connect with people in my community and my family.
And it's just really important. And so a couple of months ago, I participated in a women's retreat that I was a participant in. And so, and one of the things is, like, when we were sitting around the table and we were talking, like that's exactly where, like, so we had circle, but like during the circle, like that's like more formal. They're doing the teachings and whatever it is that we're doing. But then when we're sitting around the campfire, or sitting around the dinner table, like that was where we actually got to, like, so like within the little shares that were happening within the circle. But during the rest of it was kind of like, yeah, like that was like, yeah, that was my experience too. Or yeah, that I remember that happening to a family member or whatever that conversation is. And like, you're right, like that that is like one of the best places to be able to have, like, people are eating and like not feeling as intimidated. And so like, and the conversation just flows, and it is a really beautiful place to be able to have those conversations, as much as the topics are not necessarily beautiful, but being able to share the information and creating that awareness is huge. And so like, I know that there's a lot of conversations with the I think it's Manitoba or Alberta are launching the red dress the red dress campaign, and that is so that they can actually create that awareness and have that conversation and bringing those topics out, and because of how much that it impacts our Aboriginal women in across Canada. So it's that one province. Like I said, I can't remember if it's Alberta or Manitoba. I think it's Manitoba, but like, they're working on implementing this, where it's going to be like when the I can't even think what it's called, but when the children go missing, when they're apprehended or whatever. So like, that's one of the things that so like, they're looking at being able to launch this type of program. And so like, that is huge, because it's not, again, it doesn't take long for them to get across borders. It doesn't take long for them to get across. And so being able to have, and that is all gender-based, like, that's all impacted by gender-based violence. And so being able to have like this global initiative that can actually help to be able to help create some awareness and bring more knowledge to these types of campaigns, where maybe perhaps that they can actually be implemented into like a bigger impact. And so like, it's just absolutely incredible. And I can't stop saying that. Like, it's just, like I said, it's just been like, I wasn't expecting this conversation. And so when I read the title, it was like, oh yeah, okay, great. Bringing groups of women together, or bringing groups of people together, and doing these things in terms of a collective, because like, that's, group work is something that I'm very passionate about. But like, just even that much more of being able to have this impact. And so like, we have a small group of women in a small community called Mattawa this weekend, that we know that collective, we know that when people are leaving, there's going to be a lot of healing done, and there's going to be lots of and strength that they're going to be able to take from each other and provide to each other. And so but then being able to see this globally is like, oh my gosh, like, just so incredible.
Well, you absolutely, that's absolutely it, is that the word connection, right? At the end of the day, as human beings, we all crave human connection and vulnerable, real connection with each other. And, storytelling is one way of doing that. And what we're doing is, how do we amplify impact by creating this human connection with each other? And actually, we've been talking about an organization, our organization, what is the power of we, doing that on an organizational level. But the reality is that every single person who touches our organization is capable of bringing together that human connection. And so we kind of envision this as, a globe of impact. It's not just the organization that's creating connection, right? How do we connect in the human experience? And ultimately, that's all we want from each other. And that's why the dinner table conversation is so powerful, is because we are connecting in this human experience, things that we are all feeling, things that we are all experiencing. And how do we bring that to each other in a real, authentic, vulnerable, true, real way? And that's what we're looking for, and that's how we amplify our impact as well.
Absolutely. And so for anybody who is on my business page, Facebook, and on YouTube, I have actually shared the link for the website. So whatisthepowerofwe.com. And so for those of you who are listening to this either on my personal page or in are on LinkedIn, then just go to the description, or for those of you who are catching this as part of the podcast, in the description, wherever it is, has the description and has Anjali's contact information, and the website is there as well. And I think your Instagram, I think, was the other link that we had, right? So, but yeah, so like definitely reach out, get yourself on the email list, and who knows what kind of impact that you will have as an individual person, because that experience that you've had of whatever it is, so whether it is as a as somebody who's worked in the field, as somebody who has experienced it personally, or has had someone else experience it, is huge in terms of like what it is that you can do. And if you're not well versed, then this is still a really great place to be able to start learning a little bit more about how does this impact me? So how can I help, and how can I bring awareness and create some movement into how these things are going on, and what's going to happen. So this is absolutely incredible. Is there anything else before we head out that you would like to share?
Well, thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I think just the last thing that I would share is, as important as it is to look outside of yourself to see what impact you can have, you can't do so from an empty cup. And so one of the things that we feel is really important, not only as survivors, but also as human beings, is making sure that we are taking care of ourselves and connecting with our own bodies and our own nervous systems. And so one of our first fundraising events is a day of somatic wellness and movement instructors facilitating, leading you through our pillars of impact, from vulnerability all the way to stepping into your power. And I know the live event will be over by the time that this goes up, but if you're available, it's on Saturday. The link to the tickets is on our website, so feel free to join that way. And we are recording this because it is so important, again, that we are not filling other people's cup from an empty cup ourselves. And so it will be available for playback after the fact, and really hope that that is something that resonates with folks as well.
Beautiful. So anybody who has been on, because we've had a few people that have been on live, definitely go to the website and have a listen. I'm going to be off the grid, so I definitely can't participate. So I leave tomorrow, and I'm disconnected from now until Monday, or from tomorrow until Monday. And so I definitely will not be participating. But yeah, so like anybody who's listening, if you've heard, share it out, and let others know what it is that's going on. And so for them to for people, including myself, who are not going to be able to participate. So is it on the website that we can still go ahead and register for?
Register through the same link, and we will be sending the replay as soon as the event is over.
Beautiful. Okay. So thanks so much. And thanks again. And like I said, men, I'm back next week. I am definitely, you're going to receive an email from me with some contact information. And but yeah, so I'm going to put that in my calendar right away so that I don't forget. And so I will send that off to you, and then hopefully you guys can connect with some of the organizations within our region. So
absolutely. So thank you so much for really such a beautiful conversation. It was just such a joy to meet and to join you in conversation.
Thanks again, Anjali. Okay, so for everyone else, I will see you guys next week for another Chatting with Wisdom interview series, and I will talk soon. Bye for now.